Most Christians think ecclesia means church, but Acts 19 and the entire ancient world prove that's not true, and it changes everything about your faith. The word ecclesia appears 114 times in the New Testament. In 111 of those, English Bibles, especially the King James, translate it as church. That's why most people picture pews, pulpits, and Sunday services. But in Acts 19, translators couldn't hide the real meaning. Here, ecclesia has nothing to do with Christians and everything to do with an official governing assembly. Here's what happened. A silversmith named Demetrius was furious. Paul's preaching was turning people away from Artemis worship, and idol sales were collapsing. He stirred up his fellow craftsmen and caused an uproar. But the text says plainly in verse 32, the ecclesia was in confusion, and most of them did not even know why they had come together. That detail is huge. The craftsmen were the instigators, but the ecclesia was the convened city council, and most of its members had no clue why this emergency meeting was happening. That shows ecclesia referred to the official civic body, not the angry mob stirred up by Demetrius. Then, in verse 35, a city clerk steps forward to calm things down. This confirms it wasn't just chaos, this was an official assembly. And in verse 39 he adds, if you want to press charges, it must be settled in a legal ecclesia. In other words, this current meeting was an illegal meeting because they wanted judgment without evidence of a crime. Finally, in verse 41, he dismisses the ecclesia. This fits perfectly with how Greek writers like Thucydides, Herodotus, and Plato use the word. Ecclesia always referred to a political or civic assembly, a governing council with real civic authority, not a worship service. So when Jesus said in Matthew 16:18, I will build my ecclesia, he wasn't starting a religion. And he didn't just mean an assembly. He was establishing the government of heaven on earth, a ruling council of ambassadors, you and me, called to legislate in the Spirit and push back darkness with heaven's culture. So why do our Bibles keep saying church? Because King James ordered translators to use the word church. He wanted believers in state-run churches led by clergy on the Crown's payroll, not awake to their true calling as rulers with Christ. And that's why so many Christians today struggle with boredom. They think faith means going to an assembly once a week, singing a few songs and waiting to go to heaven someday. But that was never God's plan. Jesus declared, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That means now. His ecclesia isn't a Sunday service. It's you and me. We were not saved to sit. We were commissioned to co-reign with Christ, to resist sin, to wage war against the powers of darkness, and to establish righteousness until earth looks like heaven. If your faith feels apathetic, it's because you've been told you're merely part of a church. But the truth? You are part of the government of heaven, and once you see that, you'll never live the same way again. Follow for more hidden Bible history that will set your faith on fire.